And
Mm.
so we need to understand to be able to build, the team that you need, and all it has all the typical players, real estate agents, brokers. You're going to have your different city, county, local officials, because you need to understand, based on where the land is, what it is that you can do with it. Because the end game of any type of land development is, I'm gonna use a real technical term, you have to, is due diligence, or your homework is in finding out what is the highest and best use of that property. What's
Mm.
going to make the most money? What's going to give you the largest margin arbitrage between what you paid for it and what the market will pay you for it? You understand what I'm saying? And so that's kind of where it's at. And so I tell people, just those things, just simply, is if you just search and look for highest and best use, that's going to give you a self education into land use, zoning, all of these different things. It's going to give you the different exit strategies, whether it's residential for housing, whether it's commercial, whether it's both mixed use, industrial, agriculture, all these different things. And so I would say it starts there. And then I know there's a lot of good resources in the Black Business School. Um, or you could find someone like me that has done the deals, that is willing to help you evaluate the deal, look for potential partnering opportunities and stuff like that, and structure the deal so that it's like a win-win. That's probably another really good way, is that I would add to that, Dr. Watkins, is mentorship.
Mm.
Sometimes you can get it through a relationship. Sometimes you have to pay money for it. At the end of the day, either
Most.
way, is it going to get you closer to your goals? Which I
Mm.
would think, if anybody is diving into this community, you're looking for some type of independence and freedom.
Yeah.
The ability to have money not be an issue. Money is necessary in this world, but to have it not be an issue in order for you to have happiness. Because money doesn't get you happiness, trust me. You know what I mean? Happiness has to be within you. And then also, I firmly believe happiness has to be what you are doing in your community to help uplift it, build it up, help to break these different generational curses. If it's your family or not your family, we all in this same thing. We've all been grouped into the same category, but we don't all have to realize that as our fate. We can break those chains. We can, move forward. So I would say, at the end of the day, a little bit of self-education, a little bit of formal education, and finding either some relational mentors, or some mentors that do it for a fee. And then also to do searches on, like, highest and best use real estate development, land development, and stuff
Mm.
like that,
Okay.
would all be good starts. Hopefully that gets people started, because I always try to leave people better off after, meeting me or anybody else, than before. Not to be arrogant, but I just try to add value as I can, especially people are taking their time out. Time is money, to, like, listen to, what you're saying, what I'm saying. I just want to leave them with something solid.
Mm. Well, by the way, everybody, Alan's going to be our guest in Dr. Boyce Real Estate on Monday night at 8 p.m., where we're going to deep dive into the specifics on how he sets up projects and gets things done on land development, stuff like that. So if you have an interest, you want to do a free trial, just go to drboycerealestate.com. That's drboycerealestate.com. So Alan, I want to ask, I want to dive into something regarding just that entrepreneurship thing. I'm gonna just tell you, I don't think overall that the average black person is happy working for other people. I don't, I mean, not to say that that's bad or an embarrassment, but I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all agree? Like, give me a yes, give me a yes or no to this question. How many of you have ever had a job where you felt you were sort of hit by racism? Give me a yes if you've ever been hit by racism on the job. Put a yes in the chat. And as everyone sees all the yeses come in, what that speaks to is, see, that's an example in my view of what would be defined as systematic racism. It's funny. I was talking to Dr. Claude Anderson just yesterday, a man that I love and admire, and he was talking literally about stuff like this. Even as he's getting older and stuff like that. Like, these are persistent issues that existed when he was a little boy. They exist right now, and he just I feel like he agrees with me that we have to find a solution. We must create a way out, because you have this problem, this racism thing, and everybody feels it. It's crazy. It's not 100% unanimous, but it's close to. It's like 96%. And I don't care if you are Democrat or Republican. The answer is almost always yes. They're racist. You know, the black Republicans go through it. The black Democrats go through it. I don't care if you're rich or poor. I know black folks, they got millions in the bank. I know black folks, they got nickels in the bank. They go through it. They all, you hear some black corporate executives, who are like, oh, these white folks and what they do, and it's crazy, right? I don't care if you have a lot of education or a little education. I know college professors, PhDs, lawyers, medical doctors, surgeons who've experienced racism. I mean, that's crazy to me. That's systematic. Systematic is something that involves damn near everybody. It's like when it rains on the city, everybody who's standing outside without an umbrella is gonna get wet. That's it. It's everybody, right? So if it's raining on the city and everybody's getting wet, you have a choice. You can either stand there and keep getting wet, or you can get an umbrella, go inside the house, or leave the city. Right? One of those three things, right? One of those three things, those are three solutions you got. But if you stand there and you keep on getting wet or keep on standing in the rain, you're gonna keep on getting wet. The rain ain't gonna stop for you. Right? You have to adjust your perspective. You have to adjust your activity. You can't keep standing in the rain and then act surprised when you keep on getting wet. So here's what I would say, Alan. I think that we should just really commit to making sure that all of our children, as a means of survival, have some ability to create alternatives for themselves. If the heat gets too hot, the weather gets too bad, I'm out. I'm gone. Right? And what I want people to really understand is how connected that is to words we use all the time. We always use the word freedom a lot, right? And options and the ability to have options is directly connected to freedom. That's what freedom is. Freedom is options. So if you think about how many millions of people hate their job, hate their life, don't make enough money, get mistreated, and have nowhere to go, that is a recipe and a formula for depression. That is a
Yeah.
textbook formula for. I told y'all about the study with the rats. Have you ever heard the study about the rats, Alan? Where they
Yeah.
where they had the rats and they put them in the cage and they were getting shocked and they were in a lot of pain, but they didn't have any options.
Yep. And
And the rats became depressed. They measured the serotonin in their brains. The rats were like, "Damn, I ain't nothing I can do. I'm in the trap." The rats were in the trap, and so when we allow people to trick us into a mindset that tells us that there's nothing we can do, except maybe hope that white folks decide to stop being white. No disrespect to white folks. I don't hate nobody, but seriously, y'all know what it is. This is America, right? That's not a very good solution. So here's what I'm gonna throw at you, Alan. I'd like for you to address it. I'm into specific solutions, so not just whining about the problem. I'm gonna give you what I would consider to be a way for everybody in here to write, and I want y'all to write this down to create kind of like the perfect entrepreneur, say in your child. If you want your child to have a chance to build wealth, they're gonna have to own assets. They're gonna have to have certain skill sets that you're not gonna learn at school, you're not gonna learn at college, you're not gonna learn on that damn job. Number one, problem solving skills. That comes from things like mathematics, playing chess, knowing strategy. If you can solve problems, then you can succeed in life because life is nothing but a series of word problems. Basically, every day, if you're a father of a household, every day you're solving a problem. If you're a mother, you're solving a problem. If you're trying to make money, you're solving a problem. Number two, write this down. Everybody write this down. Alan, you can write it down too because I want to get your take on any of
Yep.
these. Number
I'm doing
two,
it now.
number two, financial literacy is a must. You cannot have financially illiterate people trying to survive in a capitalist society. That's like trying to jump into the ocean and you can't even swim. The world is swimming with money. Capitalism is the America swims in capitalism, which is basically pretty much money. So why would you jump in a pool of water and not know how to swim? The capitalism runs deep in America. We must build better swimmers. So financial literacy must be an absolute must for every child coming out of our community. Number three, communication skill. The ability to, here's the thing, when you talk about running a business, a lot of running a business comes down to your ability to communicate your idea. You have to communicate it to investors, you have to communicate it to potential customers, and when you build a team, you got to communicate with your team. But communication also helps you in things like relationships, like marriage. If you can't communicate, your marriage will probably struggle. And so communication skill, the ability to speak and write and pitch and all these other things. Number four, resilience. That just that inability to give up. Like, I am not giving up ever. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying until I get the result. Most people don't even know, Alan, that the difference between successful people and people that failed is one thing: the failures quit, or the people that failed, they just quit. The people that succeeded in many cases were failing up until the point where they finally got their success because they never stopped. So adaptability and resilience, being able to pivot, refocus, solve the problem, fix the issue, that's critical instead of getting sad and giving up. And this is why we have to heal and fix our trauma, because traumatized people with low self-esteem, they tend to give up. They try once and it doesn't work out and they say, "Yeah, that confirms everything I already knew about myself. I already knew that I'm meant to be a loser. I already knew that I'm meant to fail. I already knew that I'm no good. So this only confirms what I already knew about myself." So get your self-esteem up. Get your money up and get your self-esteem up. You're meant to be wealthy. You're meant to succeed. You're meant to be the best. And you put that in the kids so that they'll, when they see a disappointment, they're not gonna internalize it and make that the definition of who they are. They're gonna say, "Ah, it didn't work this time, but let me try again." Okay. Number five, and I'm done, Alan, and it's your floor at that point. Relationship building, the ability to network and build teams. Alan mentioned this, and you can mention this again. When you these are skills you can learn when you're a child. These are skills that you can be taught. You can be taught how to work together with other people, and I just know so many people that can be so successful if they simply stop trying to alienate and isolate everybody and be mean to people and disrespectful and everything else, and spent a little more time making friends as opposed to making enemies. So teach them how to make some friends, teach them how to network with others, teach them how to get into the right orbits with the right people, and then success becomes much easier. So I'm gonna read this again really quickly. Write this down if you didn't catch it the first time, because it's Alan's turn to talk. I've been talking way too much. So let me see here. All right, number one is problem solving skill. Number two, financial literacy. Number three, communication skill. Number four, resilience and adaptability, the ability to adapt, the ability to keep going. Number five, networking and relationship building. Those would be the five skills that I believe all of our children should have. They're not going to get these things at school, because what they want from them at schools, they want them to go to college, go $200,000 in debt, and then work for a corporation for the rest of their life so they can serve the economy. I want them to serve the family. So, Alan, it's your floor, man. Thank you for letting me get all that out.
No, man, that's essential that you get that out because that's, part of the message and that's also part of what I know about you that attracted me to this whole thing is that that's one thing that we have in common is I'm also gonna use a common textbook definition. I mean, that's just the entrepreneurial mindset or thinking like an entrepreneur. That's entrepreneurship, what you just said. So you would essentially, we'd be teaching our young people entrepreneurship. However, you mentioned something prior to that that also have to like relate to this is we're teaching our young, black children entrepreneurship in a racist world, not just country, but world. And so that means that we have to be responsible with it, is that we don't want to teach them the different entrepreneurial things so that they can go and continue to do what the majority of us do now, which is make somebody else rich. Even when we're going to business for ourselves, somehow we figure out a way to live in a certain neighborhood to where we're paying our money to people that don't look like us, drive certain cars, we paying wear certain clothes. You understand what I'm saying? And so, but that starts in the home, Dr. Watkins, right? And so everything that you just said, and maybe you didn't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it, keep it be one. Keep it be
Mhm.
one, because we have to relate their abilities and their strengths and their talents to where they're better served, which is in our community. So I
Mhm.
think as a part of this, you mentioned economics before, and I know this is a part of all of your stuff is, and because you're so close with Dr. Anderson, group economics. It's teaching them to be young group economists. Let's have some young B1 group economists. You know what I mean? Let's see what that looks like. Because you don't want the other side to get them because they influence their buying patterns when they're little. And they got them buying up at McDonald's, killing themselves. They got them wanting, these shoes and stuff, and maybe creating. We're about the same age, if not the same age. I'll never own a pair of certain shoes because of me seeing somebody getting beat up and killed over that shoe in my neighborhood. I'll never do it. I just have a trauma and a phobia. So I ain't gonna name no. I ain't trying to throw names out there because I'm not trying to create issues for you. and your platform, I'll just say certain products I just won't get. And that's because I love black people too much to put
Mm,
myself or other people in a situation to where we're gonna get at odds over some nonsense. So everything you said on that list is perfect. It really just needs to be, accessible. So just teach young entrepreneurs, but young B1 entrepreneurs, young B1 economists, because if you don't, other people will co-opt them and get them over to their side if we don't let them know, hey, if you do that, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your community, and you're literally killing black folk. Let's be real, Dr. Watkins. This is not a game. These people have manipulated circumstances so that they're playing games with real life situations. Some of these neighborhoods and stuff that I grew up in later in life as a kid, that was socially engineered. That
mm.
didn't happen just because black folk was in despair and stuff like that. Opportunities were withheld. Money was diverted. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to like get all political, but these are like what's really going on. And I want to say one of the biggest takeaways, and I don't want to take up the whole time, is at that Black National Convention was a young woman. It was a political piece, and one young woman said, "Hey, we can talk about national politics and this and that, but let's educate ourselves on the politics that's going on in our backyard. Let's empower our young B1 youth in that, because there's so many things that we could move the needle on or make a difference on locally if we get involved in our local issues and local concerns, that it's not always wrapped up into what happens at the federal level. There's a lot of local stuff. And I think that as a part of this, it's just really, I guess to wrap it up, is to have the B1 mindset, because everybody else factually is operating in groups. Everybody. We need to empower our young people to say, hey, nothing to us has happened, especially in a positive way, without the group collective. And you could, I mean, probably the easiest way to look is like the quote unquote civil rights movement. That's what a lot of people say. I'm tired of this. Bite me with a dog. Do whatever. I'm gonna stand here and we're gonna make change. And there's people took other approaches to it as well. In order to impact change. But just going back to some of the stuff that I would read, and whether it's Dr. Anderson's books, I read all kind of people like he's passed away, but Amos Wilson, brother Amos Wilson. He has a lot of good stuff where he gets to the point to where a lot of the big changes happen when black folk kept their money in their pocket
Mm.
and stop spending stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because you basically funding your own oppression in a lot of cases, in like a lot of areas. And so I guess what I mean by like the B1 mindset, and then if you could teach entrepreneurship for those people that can see an opportunity to keep the money in the community by capitalizing on our market first, you know, capitalizing on our innovation, on the things that people are capitalizing based on our culture. I mean, bottom line, capitalizing on our culture first before those young artists get out there and get swooped up by somebody else. Let's keep it in our community and help to educate them to get legal help to protect their rights, to make sure that they're operating on platforms that are owned and controlled by black folk that can benefit them and they're not getting taken advantage of. So I think that it takes a collective effort, but I think like the root of all of it is just educating young people that we didn't decide to be called so-called black folk, but that has put us in a precarious position that we need to collectively get out of. And so to get us in touch with who we are, and that we want to, teach these young folks how to practice black group economics by loving themselves, and then extending that love to other black folk and not getting caught up in all the hype and the stereotypes and the racism, and because it's global. I've
Right.
traveled, and it's all over the place. And I think
Mhm.
that shouldn't stop us from educating our kids that it's not right. It promotes injustice, um, and teaching them to do things in the way that you are. It allows our kids to just to be able to understand, justice and doing
Right.
things that are
Let me
right.
actually jump in real quick though. I want to ask
Yep.
you a question. about your journey in terms of real estate and what you did with land. What would you describe as kind of um, given that you made that transition, you went into entrepreneurship because you wanted something more for yourself. What would you say would be some of your most interesting projects that you've done? I remember you told me about the paper, or not paper, I'm sorry, wooden skyscrapers. I'm still thinking about that. What are some of the projects that you've been involved with that, and what led you to get involved, and what was sort of the outcome or the frustration of the project in terms of people that are interested in that land development aspect of what you've done in your career?
Yeah, so I would say, and just get back like to the wooden skyscrapers, that's like a challenge, is to be able to use wood to build something that's considered a skyscraper is what people are trying to do. I like the fact that you brought it up and talk about it, because I want somebody in the B1 community to be able to legitimately say I was the first person that built a wooden skyscraper, because it's still that engineering feat that is kind of still out there. And but I love it when people get stuff like out there, because we're the brightest and the best. And I think that if we get that out to like the young people, or maybe somebody now might just be that one step away from breaking the barrier to be able to use wood to get a quote unquote skyscraper. But getting back to a project that was kind of like daunting and challenging. It probably was the first one that I did, and it was a group project, and it was for someone's family wealth type of a thing. And the big challenge was in some of the stuff that I had kind of mentioned earlier about like the individualism and kind of like the me, and kind of like doing stuff that is not a part of a shared vision. It's a part of a kind of like a selfish vision. And so I'm gonna say probably one of the things that it made me realize, and I still use it as a tool today, and I kind of threw it out there a little bit earlier, is getting everybody to do a personal code of conduct and to share it out with the group. And then we use the common elements of that personal code of conduct in every written agreement that we have, starting from the non-disclosure agreement to everything. And what it does is, and it has to be built around, because the ultimate vision for me doing stuff, and I have the freedom to choose, is with friends and family, but black folk doing it to help that situation. And this particular deal was very, very tough because it didn't pan out, but it didn't pan out because it wasn't a good deal. It didn't pan out because not everybody, we were all in the same boat, but we was rowing in different directions. And when I saw how racism had influenced the people that were being negative in it, um, in terms of like they had the same viewpoint towards all black people. They had the same viewpoint towards other people in the group that like a racist white person would have,
Mm,
questioning us, accusing us of things before we even got going, just
mm,
blowing everything up because they just had the same negative stereotypes. We don't know what we're doing. We're not good with money. We're going to steal it and run off with it. We just want it for ourselves.
right.
All of those types of things. And
So
so
let
I
me,
would say that that was probably my biggest failure, because it brought me real close to what racism can also do, or really does. Because one of the worst things that I've seen with it is that you get the oppressor to get you to do his bidding for them. You understand
mm,
what I'm saying? By just blowing stuff up, you know, but not using logic, not, just continue to build a relationship, just putting these negative stereotypes. So I don't know if I'm articulating it right because it's very
well,
emotional, but it
but,
was a
but
very painful, yep.
I definitely get that, right? And I hear you, and I know that we know a lot of examples where it's failed. I'd like to know about just that specific of like maybe if you have a project where where you took some land, built something on it, got it done, like just so that we can like walk away, like so that we're not we like I think a lot of us are aware of the challenges that come with being black, right? So I'd like to know
Oh
about
yeah,
like what
yep.
are some ways where also you're able to overcome the opportunity or overcome the challenges and get a project done, just in terms of like the nuts and bolts. Like if I had some land, let's say I came to you, because I have students in here that do this. They'll say, I got some land in Mississippi. We're trying to figure out some stuff to do with this land. What do we do next? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say the some of the bigger wins that I've had is in doing land development projects for myself, but also for others, where instead of doing, say for instance, a single family development, we did a duplex, a two,
Mm.
three, or a fourplex, so that the people lived in one side and they rented out the rest. Those are probably some of the best projects that I do that I've done because it allows you to have the best of both worlds. You know, you have a new place to live, but you also have some passive income coming from that rental property. And then another one that I've done that's not all necessary because land development is different things. I've done redevelopment to where I've taken what was a single family, you go through the long process of getting it changed around so that you can modify it to make it a multifamily. So instead of having a place where you can get one, you have two, three, maybe four units. That's been a very successful thing. So I guess in general, where I've had the most success, where I've helped people with the most success, is changing something from a single to a multiple. Just adding density, adding units has probably been the best thing. And then lastly, what I would say is the biggest opportunity that I've seen for not only being a developer, also being a builder, also being someone that can build the stuff is in ground up, brand new. Especially if you're talking about like say in Mississippi and some of these areas, some of those people have land. Like a distinction, you have vacant land and you have raw land. The difference between the two is raw land, there's nothing there, there's never been anything there, it's in its natural state that it always was. Vacant land, at least you have the potential that something may have been there in the past, so you may still have utilities and different things on that property that can save you a little money in like developing it. So I would say for the people that are in some of those areas, rural areas or whatever, try to do your due diligence or your homework to confirm if it's one or the other. Because if it's raw land, that's a whole different piece. You know, because you're gonna have to like bring in the utilities. You may have to have utilities that are just on site. You know, a water well, things of that nature. Whereas if it's vacant land, you may be able to save a little bit of money, reuse some of the existing utilities and infrastructure to be able to build something at a little bit lower cost. But I would say in most cases, building brand new or ground up is typically the better way to go. I've had the most success with that. And then the exit strategy with it is to get as much density as you can, as many livable units if you're doing residential as you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And so given that we've done about an hour this morning, I'll go ahead and adjourn us for today. I want to remind everybody a couple of things. Number one, if you want to get an invitation to come to class tomorrow, make sure you get on the text list. You can get on the text list by pulling out your phone, texting the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to the phone number 87948. Also, Alan Bean is going to join us for Dr. Boyce Real Estate tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So if you have some specific detailed questions to ask about that land development process, he is your guy. If you'd like to do a free trial in Dr. Boyce Real Estate, just go to drboycerealestate.com. That's drboycerealestate.com. Also, Alan, as everyone gives you a thank you in the chat, everyone please give Alan a digital thank you, a round of applause for giving us his time today. It's great to have him, especially given that he's been a member of the B1 family for years. Uh, Alan, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh man, you could look me up on LinkedIn, and then that's my best contact information. I can put my contact information in the chat as well. Um, yep. But my email, if I can just give my email, it's my first name, Alan, ALAN, at bgebuyers.com. BGE, and the BGE stands for Black Group Economics. So
I love
bgebuyers.com.
I love that. And that's Alan with one L. His
One
name
L.
his name is
Yep,
right there on the screen, everybody. So Alan, ALAN at bgebuyers.com. So
that's correct.
so everybody feel free to reach out to Alan also directly if you have a project in mind. And in addition to that, later on today, I'll text you all I mentioned earlier, I want to text you all the 8 apps that you can use to start your family investment club or your family investment group. And so I'll send that out later on today. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the phone number 87948. I'll send that out. Also, some of you are asking about that list of variables that can allow your child to be the perfect entrepreneur. I will text that out as well, since you all were asking about that. And in fact, also remember we did that training on how to turn your child into a millionaire. You can go to kiddieboss.com, Kiddie. That's Kitty, Kiddie, boss.com, and feel free to take a look at that. All right, so thank you very much, Alan Bean. I appreciate your time, and it's great to see everybody. Bless you. And as you all know, we meet every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. So be there, be square. You guys will hear from me also tomorrow morning. So I'll see you then. Have a great day. And thank you again, Alan. Good to see you, brother.
Thanks, everybody. Peace
All
and
right.
blessings.
Be one.